Beneath Madagascar's dense forests lurks a world of unspeakable dread. Hidden in the shadows are eerie remnants of lost species and unsettling legends that defy logic. This island isn't just a place of beauty. It's a realm where the supernatural and the terrifying come to life. Brace yourself as we unveil 15 of the most haunting mysteries from this darkly enchanting land. Number 15. The vampire bat epidemic. Madagascar has been facing alarming outbreaks of the eerie and frightening vampire bat. While much of the world sleeps, vampire bats become active, slipping out of their hidden homes in dark caves, old mines, hollowed-out trees, and abandoned buildings. These tiny animals quietly glide through the night, looking for their next meal. Just like the mythical vampire they're named after, these bats live on the blood of other animals, including cows, pigs, horses, and even birds. Occasionally, they might sneak a bit from humans too. But instead of sucking blood like the vampires in stories, these bats have a different way of feeding. They use their sharp teeth to make a small cut on their target's skin, then use their tongues to lick up the blood as it comes out. They are so light and quiet that they can feed for over 30 minutes without waking their unsuspecting victim. The bite doesn't even hurt, thanks to their amazing ability to stay unnoticed. Vampire bats have developed some incredible skills to help them in their nightly blood feeding. Scientists have found that they can find their prey by listening to the sound of breathing. They are so accurate that they can recognize the breathing pattern of a specific animal, like a cow, and return to the same one night after night for a meal. Unlike other bats, vampire bats can walk, run, and even jump, making it easier for them to sneak up on their prey. Their noses have heat sensors that guide them to the best spot to feed, while their strong back legs and a special thumb help them take off easily after their meal. These bats live on a tight schedule. If they don't find blood for 2 nights in a row, they will die. Yet vampire bats can also show an unexpected side of kindness. Well-fed bats often share their meal by throwing up some of the blood to give to others, usually in return for grooming. Female bats, in particular, are known to help new mothers, feeding them for about 2 weeks after they've given birth. Even though their bites are painless, vampire bats can carry rabies, which can be dangerous for livestock, especially cows. However, despite their scary reputation, vampire bats can be quite gentle and even friendly toward humans. Number 14. The Lost City of the Vazimba. The Vazimba, according to local stories, were thought to be the first people to live on the island of Madagascar. While descriptions of how they looked vary by region, they were usually believed to be shorter than most people, leading some scientists to think they might have been a group of small-sized people. This idea suggests they may have come from the islands of what is now Indonesia and settled in Madagascar between 350 BCE and 500 CE. Although science confirms that people began arriving on the island during this time, the belief that the Vazimba were small-sized people is still not proven. Madagascar's early history is called the Vazimba period, known for their rule in the Central Highlands and the start of kingdoms often led by queens. A famous Vazimba ruler was Andriandra Vindravina. Over time, the Vazimba kingdoms were taken over by the Marina people, led by leaders like Andrea Manelo, who had some Vazimba heritage through his ancestors. His successors Ralambo and Andrianjaka pushed the Vazimba further west, and by Andrianjaka's reign, it is widely believed that the Vazimba had disappeared. However, some experts think the name Vazimba might have signified a cultural difference rather than an ethnic one, meaning many Vazimba may have mixed into Marina society instead of vanishing. Many Marina and Betsileo families claim Vazimba ancestors, and some think that the hunter-gatherer Mikea and the Vazo fishing people on Madagascar's coastlines might be their descendants. Archaeological studies and stories passed down provide glimpses into how the early Vazimba may have lived. When they arrived in the tropical highland forests, they practiced slash-and-burn farming to grow bananas, tubers, ginger, and other crops. They also collected honey, fruits, and seeds, and hunted small animals. As their population grew, they built villages led by chiefs and later kings. It is said that these leaders dyed their hair red using local mushrooms. And even today, Red is a royal color in many parts of Madagascar. Number 13. The Vanishing Anomalies. Madagascar has faced several strange and mysterious events where whole species or entire groups of animals vanish completely, leaving behind no sign of what happened to them. These puzzling disappearances are often linked to the destruction of forests and the effects of climate change. The situation casts a haunting shadow over the island's rich and unique wildlife, making its future feel uncertain and a bit eerie. Every lost creature adds to the mystery, leaving scientists and nature lovers wondering if there's more to these vanishings than we can explain. In one astonishing discovery, while conducting his research, Tsingy noticed something unusual. Other scientists had reported that about 20% of the lizard populations in Madagascar's jungles had disappeared. This struck him as particularly strange because Madagascar, a large island roughly the size of California, lies just off the southeast coast of Africa. What puzzled Tsingy even more was that this rate of lizard loss was much higher than what he had observed in the nearby mainland forests, which are just a short distance away. Given the proximity of the two regions, one would expect them to have similar conditions. Tsingy started to wonder if Madagascar's extreme deforestation, which had wiped out half of its forests since 1950, was making the remaining patches of jungle inhospitable for lizards. He speculated that the scattered clearings left by deforestation were turning the jungle into a heat trap, making the environment unbearably hot for the lizards. In March, Tsingy, along with 4 other researchers from the US and Brazil, published a study in the journal PLOS1 that confirmed his suspicions. Their findings, along with other recent studies, showed that deforestation, combined with climate change, is causing the Earth to overheat at an alarming rate. Climate change is already terrible, but local deforestation makes it even worse, Tsingy explained. Number 12. The Legend of the Zombie Lemurs. Local legends in Madagascar speak of strange zombie lemurs called fossa, believed to be inhabited by spirits with special powers. In Madagascar, ancestor worship, magic, and superstitions are deeply woven into daily life. People both fear and respect the dead, believing that the spirits of their ancestors are still around. These spirits, known as Lolo Vocatra in Malagasy, are thought to watch over, guide, and protect their families, friends, and even whole communities. Unlike the scary zombies of TV shows like The Walking Dead, Lolo Vocatra is considered kind and peaceful. The beliefs about these spirits vary across Madagascar. In the southeastern part of the island, it is thought that only people of certain lineages become these living dead. They supposedly return to the world of the living, looking almost normal, except for a slightly paler complexion, and sometimes a strange smell of decay. They never go back to their original villages, where they would be recognized as dead. Instead, they seek out new places until, after many years, they are buried again, thought to have passed away once more. Some people in Madagascar are even believed to have lived up to 7 times because of this cycle. In the south, these spirits are known as Tanalasoa, meaning good spirits. However, in the northwest, the Sakalava people refer to them as Lolo Ratsi, or evil spirits. Many villages have reported sightings of these living dead. Some say they are merely lookalikes of the deceased, but these doppelgangers vanish when someone gets too close. The legend of the living dead continues to be an important part of Malagasy culture. In some places, people even leave extra food and rum at grave sites to honor and appease these spirits. Although these stories come from ancient myths, they still stick around and add to the spooky and mysterious atmosphere of Madagascar's special animals. Number 11. The Cryptic Malagasy Graveyards. From the preserved bodies to ancient burial sites, humans have always had unique ways of honoring those who have passed away. As we've explored various cultures around the world, we've come across many unusual funeral customs. These traditions often have roots in ancient religions that believe in the presence of supernatural beings, such as animal spirits, gods, and ancestors. Religion plays a crucial role in helping people deal with the loss of loved ones and is a central part of most funeral ceremonies. Madagascar shares some fascinating customs. These practices, which have their origins in Indonesia from around 1000 AD, along with those of the African Bantu who arrived later, shape the cultural landscape of Madagascar. In Malagasy culture, there is a strong belief in the close connection between the living and the dead. This belief is the foundation of their religious and social values. The Malagasy people generally believe in a supreme god, known as Zanahary, creator, or Andrea Manitra, sweet lord. The dead are seen as intermediaries between this supreme god and the living. They are thought to have the power to influence the lives of the living, either positively or negatively. The deceased are sometimes regarded as gods on earth, playing a crucial role in family life and being deeply involved in the daily experiences of their living relatives. Ancestors, or Razana, are seen as the source of life and the creators of Malagasy customs. The living are considered temporary extensions of the deceased, and neglecting or offending the dead can lead to significant problems. The burial tombs in Madagascar are an important part of the island's landscape. These tombs, which are built with great care and expense, serve as a key connection between the living and the dead. Often, these tombs are more elaborate and costly than the homes of the living. The land on which these family tombs are built, known as the Tanindrazana land of the ancestors, is considered sacred and must remain within the family. Social and economic practices ensure that this land is preserved and protected. Number 10. The Enigmatic Makis in the forest. The Indri lemur, also known as the Makis, is famous for its eerie, haunting calls that fill the Madagascar forests with a mysterious atmosphere. These strange sounds have given the lemur a magical reputation, as if it's straight out of a fairy tale. The Indri family includes several types of lemurs: Indris, Cephacus, and woolly lemurs. These lemurs have somewhat human-like bodies, with long, powerful legs and shorter arms. They live mostly in trees, and their smooth leaps from one tree to another show just how well they are adapted to this lifestyle. Among these lemurs, the Indri is the largest and the most vocal. In Andasibe Mantadia National Park, Paranet Reserve, their haunting songs are a common sound, making a visit to Madagascar truly memorable. Indris live in small family groups in the northeastern rainforests. Their home ranges are so large that they can't mark them with just scent, so their calls help them announce their presence and warn others to stay away. Woolly lemurs are the only nocturnal members of the Indri family. They are mostly active at night and rest during the day in trees or bushes. They might be mistaken for sportive lemurs until you notice their unique white patches on their thighs. Woolly lemurs aren't very energetic, spending most of their time eating leaves and resting. However, when needed, they can make swift, agile leaps through the forest. Number 9. The legendary fossa's behavior. The fossa is a special thin mammal with a long tail looking like a small cat that lives only in Madagascar. It belongs to a unique group of meat eaters called Eupleridae. As the biggest meat-eating mammal in Madagascar, the fossa is often compared to a small cougar because it has many cat-like traits. Adult male fossas are bigger than females. The fossa has claws that can partly pull back, which means it can stretch them out but not fully pull them in. And it has bendable ankles that let it climb trees headfirst and jump from branch to branch. There used to be a larger relative called Cryptoprocta spelaea, but it probably went extinct before the 14th century. Fossas live all over Madagascar, but they are often found in small numbers. They live in forests and hunt both day and night. More than half of their food is lemurs, which are only found in Madagascar, but they also eat tenrecs, rodents, lizards, birds, and other animals. When they mate, it usually happens in trees on flat branches and can last several hours. Female fossas give birth to 1 to 6 babies, which are born blind and without teeth. The babies start eating solid food after about 4.5 months and become independent after a year. They can reproduce around 3 to 4 years old, and in captivity, they can live up to 20 years. The fossa is considered at risk and is listed as such on the IUCN Red List. In Madagascar, it is often feared and protected by local traditions. The biggest danger to its survival is the loss of its habitat. The fossa's classification has been debated because, although it looks like a cat, its features also suggest a closer link to other animals like civets. Recent genetic research shows that fossas and other carnivores from Madagascar are closely related and belong to the same family, Eupleridae. This supports the idea that meat-eating mammals first arrived in Madagascar around 18 to 20 million years ago, rather than on several different occasions. Number 8. The haunting silence of the Tsingy. In the heart of Madagascar, there's a fascinating landscape called the Stone Forest, home to thousands of sharp, needle-like rock formations, some towering as high as 100 meters. These jagged structures create a dramatic and rugged scenery, making it nearly impossible to walk across. The local Malagasy people gave this place a name that translates to "where one cannot walk barefoot," which is practical advice considering the terrain. Interestingly, there are two types of these unique landscapes on the island. The most famous is the Grey Tsingy, but there is also the Red Tsingy, located 855 kilometers to the northeast. While the Grey Tsingy is made of limestone, the Red Tsingy is formed from a different type of rock called laterite, which gets its red color from being rich in iron and aluminum. Over millions of years, rivers and erosion have worn away softer sediments, leaving behind these striking red landforms. The story of the Grey Tsingy, which covers over 1,000 square kilometers, is even more ancient and complex. About 200 million years ago, Madagascar was part of the supercontinent Pangaea, wedged between Africa, India, and Antarctica. At this time, the climate was warmer and humid, with dinosaurs roaming the land. Then, around 190 million years ago, Madagascar began to break away from Africa, sinking below sea level, and became home to shallow seas and lagoons. These waters were filled with coral and hard-shelled creatures, which, over millions of years, formed thick layers of limestone. As sea levels dropped, the land began to rise again, causing the limestone to be uplifted by more than 100 meters. Later, when India collided with Madagascar about 130 million years ago, this collision caused the rock layers to tilt, creating the slanted formations we see today. After India broke away again, millions of years of erosion shaped the landscape further. Over time, slightly acidic rain started to wear away the limestone. This process, occurring over tens of millions of years, created the jagged, sharp pillars of the Grey Tsingy. Similar landscapes exist in other parts of the world, but Madagascar's stone forest stands out as one of the most extraordinary. Number 7. The hissing Madagascar cockroach. The Madagascar hissing cockroach is one of the largest types of cockroach, growing up to 2 to 3 inches when fully grown. These fascinating insects come from the island of Madagascar, where they are commonly found living inside decaying logs. There are about 20 different types of hissing cockroaches from Madagascar, and they are often confused with each other, especially by people who keep them as pets. What makes these cockroaches stand out from most others is that they don't have wings. Instead of flying away from danger, they have a unique defense system. They make a loud hissing sound by pushing air through tiny holes in their bodies. This sound can scare off predators, which is important since these cockroaches are easy to catch because they can't fly. Although they can reproduce on their own without a mate, they usually prefer to reproduce the traditional way, with a male and female. These roaches are also known for their climbing skills and can even scale smooth surfaces like glass. You can tell the males and females apart because the males have thicker and hairier antennae and noticeable bumps on a part of their body called the pronotum. The females carry their eggs inside their bodies and only release the baby cockroaches, known as nymphs, after they've hatched. Interestingly, the parents and babies often stay close together for a long time. In captivity, these cockroaches can live for up to 5 years, and they mostly eat plant material. As their name suggests, the Madagascar hissing cockroach is best known for the hissing sound it makes, which some people think sounds similar to the rattling tail of a rattlesnake or the soothing sound of a rainstick. This hissing is their main way of scaring off predators. Unlike other insects that make noise by rubbing body parts together, these roaches make sounds by forcefully expelling air through special breathing holes called spiracles, located mainly on their fourth body segment. They are the only cockroaches that can create sounds loud enough for humans to hear. The hissing sound can serve three purposes: to warn off threats, disturbance hiss; to attract mates, female attracting hiss; and to challenge other males, fighting hiss. Interestingly, even young cockroaches, after their fourth molting stage, can make the disturbance hiss, but only the males make the mating and fighting hisses. Male cockroaches use the fighting hiss to compete for dominance, and the loser will retreat when it's clear they've been beaten. These hissing cockroaches are popular as pets, partly because of their unusual hissing and their calm nature. When first picked up, they might hiss, but they quickly get used to being handled. Number 6. The spectral sounds of the baobab trees. When people think of Madagascar, they often picture lemurs and towering baobab trees. The locals call these trees Rihanna, which means queens of the forest, or tree of life. There's also another poetic name for them, roots of the sky. According to ancient legend, the baobab trees look so unusual because long ago, the devil pulled them out of the ground and pushed them back in upside down, leaving their roots reaching up toward the sky. They are often associated with mystical stories and spectral sounds. Locals believe that the trees are inhabited by spirits. The baobab trees themselves are truly remarkable. On the outside, they have a tough, hard bark, but on the inside, they're like giant sponges filled with water. These trees can store up to 32,000 gallons of water, which helps them survive in dry, harsh environments. We were lucky enough to find a hole in one of the trees, revealing how thick the bark is, about the length of a hand. Beneath the bark lies the soft, water-filled core. The locals make good use of these trees, tapping into the stored water during droughts, using the bark to treat ailments like diarrhea, and harvesting the fruit from the treetops. Speaking of the fruit, it is surprising given how much water the tree holds. It is expected that the fruit will be juicy, but when cracked open, it is dry, chalky, and surprisingly sweet. Baobab trees are truly ancient wonders. Some of them have been radiocarbon dated to be over 2,000 years old. Sadly, these majestic trees are now endangered. Number 5. The enigmatic Tsingy forest. Tsingy de Bemaraha, often called the Stone Forest, is a breathtaking sight in Madagascar where sharp limestone peaks rise from the ground like a strange forest of stone towers, complex valleys, and deep, dark cracks. This incredible landscape, shaped over millions of years by the constant forces of wind and water, feels like something out of a fantasy story. The name Tsingy comes from the local language, meaning where one walks on tiptoes, a perfect description of how you must carefully step around the sharp rocks as if moving through an old, dangerous maze of stone. Located about 70 kilometers from Madagascar's rough western coast, this nature reserve is a dream for adventurers, calling to hikers and explorers. The limestone shapes, often compared to huge stone cathedrals, have been beautifully carved by nature over many ages, creating a stunning, almost holy maze of tall pillars and narrow paths. It's not just the raw beauty of the land that amazes visitors. It's also the incredible variety of plants and animals, many of which can't be found anywhere else in the world. Every step through this wild land reveals stunning views, hidden caves, and rare wildlife, making it feel like you've stepped into the untouched, ancient core of Madagascar. This magical landscape has been named a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a sign of its environmental importance and awe-inspiring beauty. Specific routes are set for visitors, ensuring that the delicate limestone structures and the rare species living here stay protected. Winding through its valleys, the Manambolo River feeds this lively ecosystem, supporting animals like lemurs, rare birds, and other creatures close to extinction. From its towering stone peaks to its hidden caves full of old secrets, Tsingy de Bemaraha offers an unforgettable, deeply moving experience for anyone lucky enough to explore its otherworldly wonders. Number 4. The mysterious extinct species. Madagascar once had some incredible creatures that are now extinct. These animals were larger than life, and their remains, along with the tales passed down through generations, have added to the island's air of mystery. The fact that these creatures vanished so suddenly makes their disappearance even more spine-chilling, leaving people to wonder about the strange and fascinating history of this unique island. The most logical explanation for this odd situation is that these fruits were once eaten by much larger animals that no longer exist. Over the past 2,000 years, Madagascar has lost 48 species of big creatures, including giant lemurs, hippo-like animals, massive tortoises, and the enormous elephant birds, some of the largest birds that ever lived. These huge animals played a crucial role in the ecosystem by spreading seeds across the island. The last elephant bird disappeared in the 17th century, and without them, the job of scattering seeds has now passed to much smaller animals, like the radiated tortoise, which is only a fraction of the elephant bird's size. Among the extinct animals, giant lemurs were the most important seed spreaders. There were 17 species, and they were all much larger than the lemurs alive today. Many of these giant lemurs had diets rich in fruit, making them key players in maintaining the forest by spreading seeds far and wide. With the extinction of these large creatures, the plants that depended on them to spread their seeds are now in danger. These fruits, designed for much larger animals, have become anachronistic, a term meaning they're out of place in time. These plants are now orphans, left without the partners they relied on for survival. Without a way to spread their seeds, they too may face extinction in the future. Number 3. The high-pitched call of the ii. The ii is a rare, squirrel-like primate found only in Madagascar. It's the last surviving member of its unique family, Daubentonidae. These curious creatures are nocturnal, meaning they are active at night, and they prefer to live alone high up in the trees of Madagascar's eastern rainforests. Interestingly, fossils found in Egypt and Kenya suggest that the ancestors of today's iis lived in Africa about 34 million years ago before eventually making their way to Madagascar. One of the most fascinating features of the ii is its hand, particularly its incredibly long third finger. The animal itself is about 40 centimeters long, not counting its impressively bushy tail that adds another 55 to 60 centimeters. Its body is covered in long, rough fur that is either dark brown or black, and it has a short face with large eyes that help it see in the dark. The ii's front teeth never stop growing, just like a rodent's, which helps it gnaw through tough materials. The ii's hands are truly something special. Each hand has 5 fingers, but the third one stands out. It's long, skinny, and almost delicate. It even has a pseudo-thumb, a unique extra bony digit that no other primate has. The ii's fingers are tipped with sharp claws except for its big toes, which have flat nails and are opposable, much like a human's thumb. When it comes to building a home, the ii creates large round nests from leaves, which it places in the forks of tree branches. As for its diet, the ii loves insects and fruit. It has a clever way of finding insect larvae that live inside trees. It taps on the wood with its special third finger and listens for hollow sounds, which tell it where the bugs are hiding. Once it finds a tasty insect, it uses that same long finger to fish it out of the tree. The third finger also comes in handy when the ii wants to scoop out the soft, juicy pulp from the fruit. Female iis give birth to one baby at a time, making each new generation of this rare and fascinating creature even more precious. Number 2. The lemur's curse. Lemurs are fascinating creatures found primarily in Madagascar. While lemur broadly refers to many of these unique primates, it specifically includes not only the typical lemurs, but also animals like the avahi, sifaka, indri, and the quirky ayei. In a wider sense, lemurs are linked with animals like the lorises, potto, and bush babies found in Southeast Asia and Africa, though strictly speaking, these are in a different category. Lemurs from Madagascar and the nearby Comoro Islands stand out with their large, striking eyes, faces that resemble a fox, and bodies that remind you of monkeys. They also have strong hind legs to help them leap among the trees. These creatures come in various sizes, ranging from the tiny Madame Bertha's mouse lemur to the much larger indri. Many lemurs sport bushy tails, often longer than their bodies, although the indri has a mere stump for a tail. Their fur is usually soft and woolly, in shades of reddish, gray, brown, or black, with some having striking patterns or markings like eye rings or crown patches. The eye is the exception, with its unique features. Compared to monkeys, lemurs aren't quite as smart. However, their sense of smell is excellent, making up for their somewhat weaker eyesight. While a few lemur species are active during the day, most are more accustomed to the night, their eyes specially adapted for seeing in low light. They have a reflective layer in their eyes, giving them better night vision, although they lack the sharp central vision that other animals have. Some other distinctive traits include a moist, hairless nose tip and a special grooming claw on their second toe except for the eye. Lemurs are gentle, social creatures, with some species living in groups of 10 or more. They spend much of their time in the trees, munching on fruits, leaves, buds, insects, and even small birds or their eggs. Their diets vary widely depending on the species, with some being primarily insect eaters while others focus on leaves. They breed seasonally, and females often have only one day in the year when they are fertile. Typically, a single baby is born after a gestation period of 2 to 5 months. The newborn clings to its mother's belly before eventually moving to her back as it grows. Number 1. The Biodiversity of Madagascar. The island of Madagascar is one of the world's most fascinating biodiversity. The island broke away from Africa about 160 million years ago, and then separated from India 88 million years ago, long before the dinosaurs vanished. Because it's been isolated for so long, Madagascar developed an incredible array of plants and animals. Over 80% of its species exist only there, making it a treasure collection of unique biodiversity. What makes Madagascar even more interesting is that, unlike many other tropical areas, it doesn't have a lot of fruit-eating animals. Most places rely on birds to spread seeds by eating fruits, but in Madagascar, this role is primarily taken over by lemurs, the island's extraordinary primates. Out of nearly 100 species of lemurs, 21 of them eat fruits and help scatter seeds, keeping the island's forests growing. However, Madagascar only has 5 species of birds that help with this task, compared to other parts of the world where birds are the main seed spreaders. Many of Madagascar's native plants produce juicy fruits that should be eaten by animals to help spread their seeds. But strangely, many of these seeds are too large for any living animal to swallow. As a result, the fruits fall to the ground and rot instead of being carried away and planted in new areas. Which of these creepy discoveries in Madagascar that terrified the world did you find the most intriguing? Let us know your answer in the comments section.